Welcome to the T-Shirt Teacher. Kristen Fruge here, published author, editor, and former high school English teacher. I am sorry for the delays. We are jumping right back in where we left off in Hamlet and the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes with Coriolanus Snow. And just literally picking up right back where we left off, I am going to jump onto page 328, and we have seen that Coriolanus is being sent off to be a peacekeeper. That is his punishment for cheating in the Hunger Games. And his cousin Tigress, who they live with their grandmother, and Tigress still sees Coriolanus as like a good person. And she says that she's very concerned about him being sent to the districts. And she also mentions that he was set up to fail. And she says the Hunger Games are unnatural, vicious punishment. How could a good person like you be expected to go along with them? We see that Tigress is fully believing still that her cousin is good, which is very, very, very debatable at this point. And we'll see further along that poor Tigress, she tries to see the best. Anyway, he says, "You mustn't say that to anyone but me. It isn't safe," Coriolanus warned her. And that's all on page 328. Coriolanus quickly warns his cousin Tigress on page 328 when she expresses the opinion that she disagrees with the Hunger Games. He says that, "You mustn't say that to anyone but me. It isn't safe," Coriolanus warned her. It's interesting to see Tigress telling him he's a good person. We see that through the book, there are people that assume that he's a good person, but he doesn't seem to believe it himself. He goes off to his training. We see a little of his life in training, and then an unexpected reunion when he has finished his training. He is requested to be sent to District 12 in hopes that he'll come across Lucy Gray. He quickly despairs at the thought of life in obscurity, and it makes him decide death would be preferable. And he's very dramatic, much like Hamlet. Coriolanus is very dramatic, but he's more internally dramatic than externally, at least in the first book. And part of that is that a play, you need to see what is happening. Like Hamlet talks about his emotions because we are watching it through a play. In Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, we are in Coriolanus's mind, which is a terrifying place to be, but that's where we are. And I think it's very interesting that of all the Hunger Games books, that Suzanne Collins chose this one to write in the third person and none of the others. It's like she didn't want to get too close to that brain because he's so terrible. But anyway, I just think it's a very interesting literary choice, and it's a very good one too, because she is separating him as a villain, even in her choice of third person versus first person in Sunrise on the Reaping, Hunger Games, and all the other books, which we're going to have to do a deep dive into Sunrise on the Reaping if you're ready to get your soul ripped out of your body. But anyway, that's a great book, even though you'll cry for 3 to 5 business days. But jumping back, sorry, ADHD kicking in there. So anyway, we see Coriolanus being more internally dramatic, and Hamlet is more externally, play versus book. There's a need for different ways of showing that. And in Ballad, so Coriolanus has finished his training. He's going to District 12. And then, surprisingly, there is a reunion with Sejanus. Sejanus shows up. And Sejanus was also punished, but his father was able to buy him a life as a peacekeeper by providing a new gym for the academy. And Sejanus has even bargained for Coriolanus to get a diploma, which gives him hopes of becoming an officer someday. So even in Sejanus's darkest hour, he still thinks Coriolanus is his friend. He still is trying to do nice things for other people. That is the character of Sejanus, and it also is his downfall eventually, because he believes that everyone has good in them. It is such an interesting foil to Coriolanus. We've got Coriolanus and Sejanus. Coriolanus believes that everyone is bad, and maybe not at first, but through the book we see his character development. He believes that at the core, people are evil and they are going to do evil things no matter what. Sejanus believes that people are good and that you should fight for good and there is something worth fighting for, things like that. They're very different characters and foils of each other, which is a literary term that is like the opposite. It's showing the opposite characteristics in each character. On the next page, on page 341, we even see that Coriolanus says he was considering suicide before Sejanus had arrived. Sejanus also admits, like, he's considered that as well. But his time in 12, he sees as a ticket to a more free life than in the capital, which is very interesting. Again, that foil character. Coriolanus sees it as a prison. Sejanus sees it as a means of escape. And the foil characters, they have opposite intentions, motives, they serve many purposes in literature. Creating conflict, exploring themes, adding depth to the story, and having that alternate point of view, that helps to bring out the themes more clearly, which we can see the theme of fate versus free will in Hamlet. We can see the themes of rebellion, of all these different things. And are people basically good? Are people basically bad? That is sort of the moral dilemma that we see in Ballad, which Coriolanus is influenced to believe that no matter what, people are going to choose the bad, the evil, and Sejanus believes that given the choice, that people will fight for the things that are good, like freedom and a good life and things like that. He is opposite. That doesn't mean that there aren't bad things that may have to happen to get to the good things, but his viewpoint, his worldview is very different than Coriolanus's. In the book, we see Sejanus consistently acting more rationally than Coriolanus, but also possessing a contrasting moral code that's heavily focused on standing up to injustice, which is interesting because Coriolanus is not above cheating to get what he feels he deserves at the expense of others, and he's often confused by Sejanus's actions that are more often than not motivated by the compassion for others. On page 342 into 343, we even see, as they're discussing Dr. Gall, sort of this discrepancy in their characters. And they're discussing the purpose of the Hunger Games. And Coriolanus says, yes, to punish the districts and remind us what beast we are, said Coriolanus, focused on lining up Sejanus' folded socks in the locker. What? Asked Sejanus, giving him a funny look. I don't know, said Coriolanus. It's like, she's always torturing the rabbit or melting the flesh off something. Like she enjoys it, asked Sejanus. Exactly. I think that's how she knows. Exactly. I think that's how she thinks we all are. Natural-born killers, inherently violent, Coriolanus said. The Hunger Games are a reminder of what monsters we are and how we need the capital to keep us from chaos. So not only is the world a brutal place, but people enjoy brutality, like the essay on everything we loved about war, said Sejanus, as if it had been some big show. He shook his head. So much for not thinking. And in that paragraph, we see that while Coriolanus is just parroting Dr. Gall's views, he's just saying that's what she believes, we have seen Coriolanus starting to evolve into that belief as well. He is very heavily influenced by Dr. Gall. As much as he expresses disdain for her, he also knows he needs her. And it's interesting to see that he's starting to embrace that worldview as the book has progressed. Their views on humanity are also starkly different. Coriolanus views humanity as inherently evil when given the chance and believes that a totalitarian regime is necessary to maintain order. Does that sound like anybody in history to you? If you studied World War II, think about it. And Janus believes that people are inherently good, and it's clear that he does, and he trusts Coriolanus, which turns out to be a fatal error on his part. Their actions and reactions create a distinctive foil to one another. We'll continue to explore that in the next few episodes as well. After Coriolanus is sent to be a peacekeeper, Sejanus joins him, and he's overjoyed to see him and calls him a friend. He was punished for his actions in the capital. He was sent to be a peacekeeper. And then on page 342 and 343, we see Coriolanus hoping that he can somehow get back to the capital. Sejanus is happy to be free and encouraging Coriolanus not to let the capital win, so to speak. And that does not sit well with Coriolanus. We then see on page 343, Coriolanus is hoping to see Lucy again. He hears her band might be performing in what's referred to as the Hob, where people gather to drink and relax. It's sort of like the local pub or the local bar where people go. On page 344, we see more of Coriolanus plotting mentally to get back at the capital. He is hopeful that there are still allies there. So he's still hoping he has friends in the capital. It's not so much that Coriolanus wants to get back at the capital, though he does. It's more of he wants to get back in the capital's good graces. Sejanus is angry at the capital for what they have done to his original district and to him, to Coriolanus, because he still believes that that's his friend and things like that. On page 345, even Coriolanus and Sejanus' attitudes toward their weapons is a stark contrast. It's interesting, and it continues to build on Coriolanus' need for control and Sejanus' desire for peace. Jumping back to Hamlet, so we're going right back to Hamlet. In Act 4, Scene 5, on line 74, follow her close, give her good watch, I pray. Exit Horatio. The king had said that to Horatio. Oh, this is poison of deep grief. It springs all from her father's death. And now behold, oh Gertrude, Gertrude, what sorrows come. They come not single spies, but in battalions. First her father slain, next your son gone, and he most violent author of his own just remove. The people muddied, thick and unwholesome in their thoughts, and whispers, for good Polonius' death have we but done greenly, and hugger-mugger to intend him. Poor Ophelia, divided from herself in fair judgment, without which we are pictures or mere beasts. And the king continues on his speech, and he's basically saying that what separates humans from beasts is the ability to reason, to not be mad. And he is mourning the fact that all the events have come to this, basically. And Laertes then barges in, who, remember, Laertes is Ophelia's brother, and he has found out about this. And he comes in with an angry mob of Danes who are demanding that Laertes should be king. They're like, we're done, we've had this. And Laertes is a foil of Hamlet. Remember we talked about foils in the last thing about Coriolanus and Sejanus? Well, Hamlet and Laertes are foils of each other. Laertes immediately reacts to the death of his father in a violent way and insists on revenge, demands to know who killed his father, and then he sees Ophelia in her pitiful state, and he is more incensed than ever. He is furious. Remember Hamlet, he finds out about his father's death, and he plots, and he just mopes, and he broods, and he's very broody and moody. And Laertes is impulsive. He acts. He is not indecisive. Hamlet is very wishy-washy and indecisive. He can't even decide if he wants to, unalive himself. So, which, not a good decision, by the way. Just giving you information about the text. So, in Act 4, Scene 6, not even 2 days later, Horatio receives a letter from sailors from Hamlet. And remember, Horatio was one of the guards that told about the ghost of the Elder King to Hamlet, and the one who's been open to listen to Hamlet. Horatio reads the letter, which in itself is pretty wild, because remember, Hamlet's been sent off to England. The king has sent him to his death, and Hamlet has possibly figured it out, but the king did not let Hamlet know that was what was happening to him. But that is where he has gone, and Hamlet sends a letter to Horatio that he's been captured by pirates, and that the ship was on course for England with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who Hamlet says basically they've got what's coming to them because he feels like his friends betrayed him. And so in his place, he has sent Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. He says he's made a deal with the pirates and sent a letter to the king on their behalf in exchange for their freedom. And in turn, he'll be back. And some argue that this story is so far-fetched that it might not even be true, because we also have to remember that this is coming from Hamlet, who is manipulative, who is possibly truly gone mad. It's very real possibility. That's a huge question that many debate. Was he mad? Was he mad in craft? Again, that's that question that flows through the book. Or did he start out mad? Or did he start out playing mad and then become mad? Like, what was it? Age-old question. You can support it either way with the text, I think. I'm not sure what I think. I at first, when I read it, I did think that he was originally sane and became what he projected, the madness, that he was pretending to be crazy. But then again, the more I read it, and as an adult, I'm like, maybe he was sane the whole time. And he just made really bad decisions. But anyway, that is an opinion. But anyway, so he sends this letter and he says, hey, I'll be back to avenge my father. So Horatio knows Hamlet's coming back. Now, We see then Laertes and the king are discussing the circumstances of Polonius' death. The king gets Laertes calmed down with his army of Danes that were ready to overthrow the kingdom. And Laertes questions why the king didn't do anything other than send Hamlet away to his death, and he's worried about what it would do to Gertrude. That's what the king says. He says, I'm worried about what would happen if I publicly punished or killed Hamlet, my wife, my poor wife. And he says that, Gertrude loves Hamlet dearly. And in scene 7, lines 10 through 25, he talks about that, it would undo his poor mother and things like that. Then they're interrupted by a messenger with a letter from Hamlet that, of course, is pretty wild, saying he's coming back to Denmark. And then Laertes and the king, they form a plan to be rid of Hamlet once and for all. However, the scene sadly ends with the news that Ophelia has drowned. And the king worries Laertes will be even more angry now, and he wonders what else he'll have to calm down, because he's got plenty of problems boiling. Plenty. So today we've learned about foil characters. Sejanus and Coriolanus are opposite characters that are representative of different themes through the book. Hamlet and Laertes are different characters. They are foils of one another. And we will talk more about this in the next episode. Thank y'all so much for being patient. I've had a lot going on in life right now, and I'm working several jobs. So I'm going to put these out as quickly as possible. And if you would like to buy Written in Purple, my first published YA novel that came out last December, you can go check it out on Amazon. It's on Kindle. It's on Barnes & Noble, and my mind is blank. It's somewhere else too. Walmart.com. That's what it is. And I believe that Amazon has a good sale on it right now for one of the digital versions. And Engulfed in Maroon, hopefully, is coming out next year. I am doing my best. So thank you so much for watching the T-Shirt Teacher. And today's T-shirt is The Force is Coming to Town. Got some Star Wars villains on my shirt. Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, foil characters. Anyway, have a wonderful day. And I'm sorry if there's a fan noise in the background. It's very hot, even though it's cold outside. You're just going to have to deal with it, because I'm not going to be able to film without having a fan on. All right. Thank y'all so much. Have a wonderful day. And if I don't film before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. Hopefully I'll get one more in before Christmas.